Joining me now, Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat of California and ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, first let me ask you about Devin Nunes, who's the chair of your committee, though recused from anything having to do, well, supposedly recused from the Russia investigation, meeting in secret with other members of the committee to kind of plot out an investigation of the investigators. Did you know about that?
No. I mean, I certainly knew that they were initially pursuing this whole unmasking business and failing to find anything critical of the Obama administration. I think they then turned their sights to trying to undermine the FBI and the DOJ. Now, we could see them doing that. We could see them issuing subpoenas. In terms of whether this rump group is working in parallel with other committees, though, I don't have much visibility into that. But it's more the same problem we saw early in the investigation when the chairman of the committee had difficulty removing himself from his role during the campaign of being a proxy for the White House. And here, I think, again, we see some on our committee, including doing the work of the White House, doing the work of Steve Bannon and his allies, rather than doing the work of the committee, which is supposed to be investigating Russia, as well as the connections between Russia's active measures campaign and Trump officials.
I don't serve in Congress, so I don't know the answer to this question, but is it weird to have a rump caucus of your committee meeting in secret to sort of plot a kind of counter-investigation to what the committee is investigating?
Yes, of course. It's highly irregular. I've never seen anything like it. It's all the more unusual in the Intelligence Committee, which has a long tradition of being very bipartisan, and in fact had been bipartisan up until that trip the chairman took to the White House, where he pretended to obtain documents and then later present them back to the White House. That was really, I think, a major body blow to our ability to work together. And then since that time, notwithstanding his promises to recuse himself, he never really did. He insisted on having the ultimate say in what subpoenas could go out, more importantly, what subpoenas could not go out, as well as the scheduling of witness interviews or the not scheduling of witness interviews. So he has kept very much a leading hand here, but not one that is devoted to the investigation.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. You're saying that Nunes has vetoed subpoenas?
Well, yes. There are any number of subpoenas that we've asked to be issued that were necessary to compel people to cooperate or to compel the production of documents that are directly relevant to the investigation. Those decisions are ultimately made by Chairman Nunes, and those requests have been denied.
There's reporting today from NBC, the Attorney General has ordered people in the Justice Department to ask FBI investigators to go back over their investigation into the famed Uranium One deal. There's two ways to interpret that. One is a worrying decision for an administration to essentially open an investigation to a political rival. The other is that Sessions is dotting his I's and crossing his T's so he can go back to the White House and say there is nothing there. Which of those two do you think it is?
Well, either way, frankly, I find this deeply disturbing that the White House is essentially interfering with the operations of the Justice Department, that the policy that divides the White House from the administration of justice, and properly so when it affects the White House, is being broken down. And we've now seen this in multiple ways. We saw it first when the White House urged the Justice Department to lift the gag rule on a witness in this Uranium One investigation so that it could be restarted. That violated White House policy. We then see the next step along those lines, that the Attorney General is now asking these agents about that investigation and potentially reopening it. We also saw a very disturbing sign last week when the Justice Department released to the press internal text messages of FBI personnel during the pendency of an Inspector General investigation. That never happens. So why is it happening now? I think it's because the Justice Department is losing its independence from this White House, and that is a real threat to our system of checks and balances.
Andrew McCabe, number 2 of the FBI, was before your committee today in closed session. If I am not mistaken, I understand you won't be able to tell me what he said, but can you explain why Republican members seem so focused on Mr. McCabe?
Well, I think they're focused on Mr. McCabe because they see him as an opportunity to, again, try to tear at the FBI, tear at the investigation, tear at Bob Mueller. If they can just discredit the FBI, then maybe they can get the country to ignore what Bob Mueller finds, or worse, they can get the country to go along with the firing of Bob Mueller. I don't think this is going to work, but it's so deeply destructive to the whole institution of the Justice Department, FBI, and it also besmirches the reputation of Andrew McCabe, who's been a career public servant, and people like Bob Mueller, another dedicated public servant. So it's hard to add up all of the flaws with what they're doing and what a danger it poses to our institutions.